a spot on the racetrack he probably doesn't want to run. Now Kyle's frustrated because he's a lap better on tires and he feels like he needs to get back around Denny Hamlin. So tough to get yourself spaced out and be where you need to be.
Denny already up on the wall like we were talking about, and that's what I loved. You saw off in the exit of 2, Denny Hamlin drive off from him. That momentum gained off the banking of the outside line is so crucial to a good run here.
Second, just working down on the outside, inside. We're used to seeing Daniel Suarez with that paint scheme, but
he's not used to running that close to the wall. This is going to be something he's going to have to acquire and learn.
You see the 41 car of Cole Custer, and when we talk about lanes, you're going to see those solid seams on the racetrack as we watch Denny Hamlin go into turn 1 right here. We talk about 3 lanes, and you see those distinct seams right there: bottom lane, middle lane, top lane, and you have choices, and that banking is progressive as you go up the racetrack. So you got a lot of choices to be on the seam with the right sides or the left sides, bottom lane, middle lane, top lane. So as a driver, you've got a lot of options here.
So that seam has a bit of rubberized filler in there between the courses of asphalt. Is there grip to be had there?
Or lack thereof,
yeah,
depending on how you hit it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Typically here, I would always like to put the right side tires on the seam. You hear a lot of guys put the left sides. I always thought that you could use the right side tires on the seam to also lean a little bit on that banking with the side of the tire to help the car turn. So very technical, a lot of good markers here, a lot of good references to be able to maneuver your car around. Got to be consistent, especially when you're running this fence right here, to not make a mistake.
Bubba Wallace with the best 5-lap average so far. Wallace, Hamlin, Gregson, Smith, Hocevar.
Seeing a lot of drivers trying to run, like Larson running all 3 series this weekend. I think practice makes perfect. You have to be comfortable racing within an inch of that wall, and that takes time. It takes reps, it takes rhythm, and to be able to find that rhythm, I think, is the reason why those guys are running all the races that they are.
And I would tell you, you don't need to be worried about hurting your car right here. If you bang up against the wall a little bit, rub up against the wall a little bit, you're okay. And you have to be able, as we look at the 3 options right here going into the corner, most important thing in this car, find clean air. And this is 3 examples. I think that the bottom car there with Bubba Wallace, you see him go up the racetrack on the exit. Very typical strategy to use the banking to drive into to help that car turn and get some grip.
Do you see the exit? Look at the exit speed that Ty Gibbs had in the 54 car. Really drove off from him on the exit. That's the momentum off that banking that we talked about.
He's had good success on the 1.5 miles. Gibbs has. In need of a turnaround for this season, and Sunday could well be the day that he gets it.
Well, I like the fact that he's up against the wall right there as we go on. The Toyota onboard camera right here. It's always good, and I feel like the most important thing is to get in a rhythm. Have a plan when you get on the racetrack to get in a rhythm and be perfectly comfortable. You're going to have to try to listen to the spotter there, but you're going to have to be able to be precise, because running that fence and knowing how much that front end is going to slide and how close you can get to the wall, a lot of times you get close enough to the wall to where you can hear the sound and the pitch of the engine. And that's when you start to be able to look forward and listen to the pitch of the engine to be able to get that thing as close to the wall as possible and maximize that speed. Regan?
Well, Kevin, you talk about having a plan in practice and knowing exactly what you want to do. That's what the 23 car of Bubba Wallace had to start this practice. Crew Chief Charles tonight told him, I want you to run 40 laps no matter what. Even if you don't like it from laps 30 to 40, I want to get a long read run on what's going to happen with our car as we run. He's going to try different things also throughout the course of the run, like the slider line, going in on the bottom and drifting up to the top so he can get a good feel on the 23 car. You guys just mentioned he's very quick on the averages right now, top of the board on speed. But Clinton, Kevin, for me, I needed a crew chief to remind me when we came to Homestead that it was going to be bad at the end of the run and to keep going no matter what.
Okay. Here's Bubba's season so far. Atlanta, of course, is the bright spot, 9th place finish. And so he's a bit in need of a turnaround here. He's also fastest on both the 5 and 10 lap averages and fastest individual laps so far in Group 1.
I'm watching the graph here, the fall-off graph, if you will, and he's holding a pretty wheel, being good to his tires. The long-run speed is right there. Ty Gibbs, he needs a big turnaround. Maybe a big weekend here at Homestead would be just what he needed. His long-run speed is really, really well. And then Ryan Blaney right here. Seems like this car's taking off well and has shown some pretty good promise so far.
Yeah, the thing about Ryan Blaney, we have learned his long-run speed is very good. You see the back of his car moving around. He's down the racetrack in 3 and 4 to try to get out of the wake of Riley Herbst in front of him to try to get the air on that nose. And that's the problem here. The preferred line in 3 and 4 is up top. So just try to maintain and figure out something in 1 and 2 to be able to go where they're not. That's where you need to make the passes.
So glad you just made that point, Kevin. As he approached that car in front of him, he lost 2/10 of a lap time right there. Just boom, as soon as he got in the wake of that car.
And this is where you start burning up your tires, right? Blaney's trying the bottom of the racetrack, but going down to the bottom of the racetrack is tougher on that right rear tire. You're going to be able to make the ground up and try to get that side draft, hoping that the car in front of you will give up a little bit to let you go by. But this is where you need to make your money down here. In 1 and 2, you need to be able to run the bottom. You need to be able to run the middle, because that's where you need to make the passes. And you see Ryan make that pass, and now you're going to see his lap times pick right back up, because he can go back to the top of the racetrack with clean air on the front of the car. And that's one thing that's really hard to keep track of in this practice, is the fact that the cars are going to slow down when they get behind each other. And do I have a good car, bad car, because I didn't make this pass?
You know, Mark Donahue famously said at midnight the clock turns back to 0, and in the case of Homestead Miami, that's a good thing for Ryan Blaney, because here are the last 3 laps, each of which were led by a different driver, and Blaney was in it to win it right to the end.
Yeah, and I think when he goes back and looks at that, I mean, hindsight's easy to say here, but I think when he goes back and looks at that, you know that Tyler Reddick now is going to just bury it in there on the top. And if you go to the top, he's probably going to bury it in there on the bottom and try to slide job you. But giving up that outside groove in 3 and 4 here is very difficult to give up. And
especially with that car.
Yeah, make the run up off the corner.
You pass me in a different groove, and you know, if you give up the preferred line, shame on me. You pass me somewhere else.
Yeah, and I think you just kind of got hung in no man's land.
John Hunter Nemechek, 7th on the speed chart right now. Fired off this season with 2 top 10 finishes, one of only 2 drivers to do so. Looking to better his best on a 1.5 miles, which currently is 9th. 165 to 167 miles per hour. That's the spread among the top 10 speeds in this group.